You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 64. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I am your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the podcast. I have missed you. I've missed this podcast. I'm sorry I haven't been around for quite a few weeks. I give you a heads up, I think, in the last episode, but I was really hoping to record one more before I went away on my holiday overseas, and it didn't happen. I meant to actually prepare it, but there was just too much to do and too much happening at the time, and I didn't have the capacity, and I told myself, no, I'm not going to push myself and work until 10 or midnight to get it out. That is just how it is. So see, even myself, I have to say no to myself and not keep pushing myself at times. And, even if I felt like it was going to disappoint you, I just made peace with it. And I'm sure you're okay, but I really appreciate you pressing play today. And I'm so glad to be back for another episode. And I felt like today, given it's my first episode back since I'm getting back into it, reconnecting with you, I thought it would be a perfect episode to have another coffee catch up. So it's actually my third one. If you haven't listened to a past one, if you're just catching up on the podcast, I do those coffee catch-ups where it's more of an informal conversation between you and I. I'm just picking a couple of mini topics as opposed to just picking one major one that I really go deep into. Like, these are more lighter conversations that I want to have. So I found that it was perfect for today. And I really encourage you, as you're listening to this, to grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, whatever you like, to sit back, chill, and enjoy this conversation. So I've been away, and oh my God, it was amazing. I feel so refreshed, like I'm smiling as I'm recording this. The break was so beneficial, and I'm going to talk about this more today. But I feel very lucky and very grateful that I got to have the time off, to have the money to go away, and to be able to take my daughter overseas and see all my family. And I have a big family. If you don't know me, I have 5 brothers. So it's quite a lot of logistics. They're a bit spread out around France and Germany to go and see everybody. So that's what I did. That's why it took some time. But I really enjoyed catching up with everybody and reconnecting really after 3 very long and tough years for me. I did have a lot of amazing food and wine being in France and Italy. Those countries are just amazing destinations for that. But the most important, what really warmed my heart, was definitely the relationship side, the hanging out with people, spending time around the table, talking with my close family members. I had missed that really dearly. And I know some of you listening also have family abroad. So my wish for you, if it hasn't already happened, is that you can meet with them in the near future. So you can also experience the joy of that connection and that belonging that comes automatically with family. So it was hard to leave, I will admit, but like everything, holidays come to an end, and I'm coming back really recharged mentally, physically, emotionally as well. And I've had so many ahas as well, thanks to the break. So I'm going to share a couple today, but you can probably expect more to come over the following episodes. Or if you're not in my Facebook group on Facebook, you can join at the Career Catch Up on Facebook. And I will be sharing more of those amongst my posts. So I have picked 3 easy life topics to talk about today. We're going to talk about rest, we're going to talk about boundaries, and we're going to talk about fun. So I hope this all sounds very exciting for you. Let's get into it. So I personally believe that our lives these days have been shaped up, have been skewed towards a complete lack of proper rest. I feel like it's like a disease that the world has, that we all have. And we need to relearn, we need to reintroduce proper rest consciously into our lives. So I think this was definitely happening already prior to the pandemic, but it definitely got a lot worse since in the last 2 years. So here I'm talking about real, proper, deep rest, when you can really feel that you recover, you regenerate, you don't just go back to some kind of normal, you actually get back to a really positive level where you can really dip into your resources. That means for me really doing very little, if not doing nothing. That means chilling, sleeping, going outdoors, really having that very, very low level of activities where you can let everything recover and regenerate for you. So already prior to the pandemic, we had things like non-stop entertainment, we have lots of work on our plates and lots of activities and social things, whether it's us or our kids. So we already had busy lives, if you remember, before the pandemic hits. And then you add everything else that came on top during the pandemic, which meant pretty much a very radical removal of breaks altogether. We were no longer commuting. We were no longer having time away from our children at time or time away from our partners. We didn't have any ability to travel or to really go on proper holidays for a long time. And we also had more work, longer hours, and more screen time. And so did our kids as well. And now we're in 2022 and things have opened up and we start living more normally. But what's happening is our daily lives are now full to the max. I'm sure you've noticed. And also we sleep less or we sleep of lower quality sleep. And what I'm describing here is the new normal. I'm sure I'm pretty close to your own life right now, whatever life stage you're at. And I think, have even developed that fear of doing nothing, that fear of having a gap or that fear of resting. And I think we've become quite foreigner to the idea of having proper rest, to the point that we probably feel even more guilty of having it now than we used to do it before. We're just like productive little wonder people right now. In a way, it's like we've managed unconsciously to remove rest as much as possible from our life. Like we've managed to overcome rest and to last the distance and to do pretty well in our lives without rest. And productivity has been the big winner of that. So when I went away for 3 full weeks and I was forced to disconnect because of the jet lag, because of being away and far from home, because of not having my normal mental load, I realized what real rest felt like in my body and in my mind. Like I had not felt a rested mind like I did for a very long time. Like to the point that you even forget what it feels like. And I never felt flat or, low or out of energy, which had been a bit of a constant mode for me in the last couple of months especially. I realized that in hindsight. And the reality is we have all accumulated layers and layers and layers of fatigue in the last 2.5 years. And those layers are all different based on our situation, but usually involve a mix of family, job, relationships, money, anxiety about the world, whether it's COVID or the war, like prices, inflation, you name it. Like all of those things have just been pulling on our energy and our resources. And we have adjusted because we're wired for survival. But the fact is we still have those layers of fatigue. And the only solution to that is deep physical and mental rest. And we just need to remember and recreate and relearn that because we are so far away from it as a society. Our brains have been hammered and our bodies to some extent, and we've not been giving them the means to replenish for such a long time that I don't know what the consequences will be long term, but I would imagine it wouldn't be ideal. what I'm also seeing is that we have been taking some holidays again, but we tend to just be taking a couple of days here or there, 2 days, maybe 4 days, because we've got all those reasons. Don't really know that we can, or we're still being restricted, or we're afraid things will get cancelled, or we just want to take it slow, or whatever it is. But I think we are more comfortable now with only taking shorter bursts of holidays. And to some extent, we have forgotten what it's like to take longer holidays, because longer holidays have been eclipsed from social norms during the pandemic. And the danger now is that they potentially don't fully return, because we filled them with more work, more stuff, more socializing. So now pretty much if you say you're going to go away somewhere for 3 or 4 weeks, people will be raising their eyebrows. Like, it's become a bit unusual, hasn't it? Was 5 years ago, no one would have said anything. Like, we had these big annual holidays that everyone will take, and it will be socially admitted and normal, and everyone will be doing it. That now they've completely disappeared, and we need to consciously bring them back. Otherwise, they will not be back on the agenda. Even yourself, think about it. Have you taken that long? How do you feel at the thought of 3 weeks off? Does it sound like a lot to you? So my point, after having experienced it myself, is that we need to relearn how to take proper holidays. By that I mean longer periods of rest where we actually properly switch off, and when we are in a beneficial environment for rest, whatever that means for you. That might be certain people or certain surrounding, certain level of noise and peace and calm. All of that we need to recreate and bring more off into our lives these days. So please trust me on this. If this is the first time you're hearing this kind of perspective, that long periods of rest are important, are normal, and they are permitted, by the way, in case you feel a bit guilty. Here's your permission slip. It's part of normal life, like it used to be, but not how it is today. So we need to really be intentional about that. So for you, if you haven't done that, look and start considering what can you do from where you are. Look at your diary, look at your finances, and start planning whatever you can. And if you're still having a hard time believing me and being convinced by the argument that you need longer periods of rest, I recommend a book that I will link in the show note called Rest, Why You Get More Done When You Work Less by Alex Peng, which is a really easy little read that is very interesting. So my second topic for today is about boundaries. So boundaries, here I come. I talk regularly about it, but today I'm being even more fired up about them, because the older I get, the more I see that I need to set my boundaries and I need to enforce them. And the more I enjoy doing it, actually, because I realize I don't want to be spending my life living it according to other people or according to their agenda, or I don't want to be tread upon and just simply let it happen. I realize that if I don't protect what is important to me, my life will happen and will be passing by day that way, but I don't get another shot at it. I don't want to be waking up later in life. Like some people said, the regret of the dying is that they wish they had done the things that they really wanted to do. Well, I'm kind of coming at it today from the same perspective. And I realized that in order to live the life that you want to live, you have to set those boundaries. So the sooner you realize and you feel ready for those, the better the quality of your life. So there was a particular situation on holidays where there was one of my family members who was facing a challenge, and they were leaning on me to fix the situation. So in the past, I would have felt compelled and kind of ready to help, and that would have meant giving in and helping out, to rescue basically, and or to compromise, but in a way that is at my own expense. So it's not a great compromise. And that usually means a lesser experience for me and sometimes even a sacrifice. Well, this time it really hit me and I was thinking, hang on a minute. I am 42 and I will stand for what I need ahead of what other people need. And in my family situation, I said no, I couldn't help. And I threw the problem back at them. And basically, I set up my own boundaries I was not going to modify things that would impact me because of someone else's problem. Because I knew if I did that, I would feel resentful myself afterwards for the impact on my own experience. I remember really clearly feeling that I was on my holiday too, that I was fully worthy of having the level of experience that I wanted. So I said no, I said I couldn't help, and then later another solution was found. And I stood there feeling so good within myself that I didn't abandon myself. So I want to say here, having boundaries doesn't mean being selfish, because you could be saying, well, you didn't help, you're being selfish. No, it means respecting yourself first, because giving it into other people at your own expense, to me, is being selfish towards yourself. To me, self-respect and self-integrity has to always come first. Of course, you don't want to be disrespectful to other people when you set up your boundaries or when you say no, but you have a right to say no. And also, as I've seen, when you give up on something to help someone, for instance, often you end up depriving them from seeing the natural consequences of their action and from really getting the lesson that they probably need to get. So all of us that are really trying to help everybody, that are trying to be selfless, not only we're not helping ourselves because we're treading well and upon everything that we need right there and we're pretending it's not happening, and we're also not helping others growing and getting the lesson from what's happening. So if you have a boundary, chances are you are likely to be inspiring others to have some boundaries too. So let's all be cool with it. Let's all start having those boundaries, communicating them gracefully. Okay, on my holidays, maybe I could have done better on that point, but I wasn't too bad. But putting your self-respect first, not at the cost of your own self-respect. So I hope this can inspire you to look where you need a boundary right now, or at the next opportunity someone asks you something, to do something, to give up on something, to change something that inconveniences you and that you know makes you resentful. Remember just this chat and say no. Set up your boundary and honor yourself first. And then watch what happens. It's outside of your control. It's outside of your responsibility. Your responsibility is to do what's right by you and to not abandon yourself. So go set up all those boundaries, my friend, wherever you need. The world absolutely needs more boundaries and more self-love first. My last topic today is about where is the fun. So we're going to end up on a really super light, fun note. So one insight that I got when I was on holidays is about my life. And I was able to take that distance from it because I was living a completely different life over there. So it was like I was watching my own self, the way that I live my life here in Melbourne. And I had some insight about it. And I felt like I spend a lot of my time and energy focusing on what I call life management, which we all have to do, right? And by that I mean it's about, meeting the timings and the deadline, making stuff happen, doing the work, delivering, doing what needs doing, like feeding people and taking care of the household, answering messages and requests and looking that basically everything runs well. So that's very good and that's a big part of life. And I am frankly excellent at that. And I'm optimizing this over and over. And I share with you lots of tips and strategies around balance, around productivity, around effectiveness. Like I use things like shortcuts, batching, lots of order around my place, planning my weeks. I lower my standards. Like these are all tools that I share with you that I use that optimize my life management. And my life runs super well. And it's very rare that actually something gets missed. And that feels very satisfying to me, I won't lie. And it's a general goal in my life. I really want that high level of execution. And I think many of us women, and maybe you listening, will identify with this here. Because we are wonderful doers. We're wonderful providers and nurturers. So we can throw a big part of our time and energy into that. But what about the fun? And you'd be like, what about the fun, Cecile? Like, really? Like where is the fun in your life? Where is the lighter stuff? The stuff that is not about managing life and keeping things going and working and addressing things. What about the stuff that is lighter, that brings you fun and joy? I realize in my own life that I definitely could do more of that. I do a lot of relaxation, a lot of self-care outside of my life management. But what about the stuff that's not as serious? The stuff that's a bit more light? So in other words, maybe I realized that I was maybe too focused on the order, on things taking along really, really well, and maybe not enough in having those bursts of laughter, of fun, or, when you're present to something and you don't have expectations, there is no deadline, KPI, things to hit. Life happens in those moments too, and it's beautiful. So for me, I realized that the ratio maybe of that was probably off. It was probably not happening enough because probably I'm too serious about the way that I approach my life. So I asked myself this question, where is the fun and how can I have more fun? And I'm asking you the same question. Do you have enough fun? Because I think of our conditioning as extraordinary Wonder Women, we prioritize so many other things ahead of fun. And going away made me realize, hang on, life is also about the fun. So if you are relating to what I'm saying, and if you ask yourself and can't really easily come up with answers, grab a piece of paper and start making a list. And even if it takes you a week, write down 10 things, 15 things that are fun for you, whatever they are. And they're probably very different from everybody. And ideally, keep going, go to 30, go to 50, because the more you think about it, the more you will focus on it, and that will expand in your life. And then sprinkle that into your weeks. And I think it's mainly about being intentional. And I'm now making little tweaks to my daily life to remember to have fun. So for instance, I'm going to be doing crosswords, or I'm going to be reading very light-hearted magazine whilst I'm eating my lunch, instead of being at my computer doing emails or knocking down another task. Or I might be playing a board game with my daughter, or I will challenge myself to cook something new or different. Whatever it is for you. I think life is too short to forget fun, to be too exclusively focused on all the things we have to do. We were not put on this planet to slave away every day. I'm pretty sure of that. So again, fun is probably something that got squeezed out of our lives in the last 2 years, like rest. So we need to bring it back. So I really hope that you're starting to think about new things that you can do and bring your kids along too. They would love it to, lift up the mood and have a bit more of those moments where the heavy stuff doesn't matter as much, the KPIs and the goals, and it's only about having a really good time just right now. So that is it for today, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this coffee catch up and that you are now walking away thinking how you're going to have more rest into your weeks, or maybe how you're going to plan this long, beautiful holiday. And please do let me know if this inspires you. I would love to cheer you on. And I hope you will also start to set up a couple of boundaries, or you will remember what I said when something comes up and you know it's going to upset you, and you're going to say no. And you're going to say yes to yourself first. And that you're going to be adding a bit more fun mindfully into your days. Because if you do those 3 things, or even just 1 out of the 3, you will see your quality of life improve instantly. So that was my little coming back from holidays message. Thank you for tuning in. I am here if you need me for career coaching, life coaching. I'm fully back on board. I've got appointments and clients coming back, which is super exciting, but I have space for you guys. If you need some help, whether it is with your career direction or whether it is with a personal aspect of your life, I can help you. Thank you so much. I wish you all a beautiful week, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.